Hello and welcome to the Blue Frontier Path Online Academy. This is a video interview with Professor Alistair Mokoena. My name is Chris Voisey. I am a voice coach and a presentation skills teacher and facilitator. The Blue Frontier Path exists as an organization that helps people further their studies, busy professionals, and in fact, even busy professionals' children in any schoolwork or any endeavor where they are trying to get themselves better qualified in an academic forum in some way or another. The Blue Frontier Path exists to help people do that. So essentially, it's a mentoring and supporting facility for you. We're very excited this morning to have the country director of Google in South Africa with us, and that is Professor Alistair Mokoena, to talk about this very topic of mentoring and helping people get further in their careers and particularly in their academic development. So a very big welcome to you, Alistair, this morning.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm looking forward to our chat.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you giving us your time. It's very kind of you, and it's great to have you with us on this conversation. So let's talk about mentorship. I know you've written a book, Serving, let me get the name right. Show us the book, Alistair. That's much better.
Servings of Self-Mastery. Yeah.
Servings of Self-Mastery. Brilliant. So this book is selling very well already, Alistair.
It is indeed. We launched it a month ago on the 16th of November, and already it's in the top 50 in the country of all books across all genres. So it's doing really well. For about 2 weeks, it was #1 bestseller at Rosebank Exclusive Books in Johannesburg. And it's available in all the bookstores across the country. It really is exciting. And I think it speaks to the fact that we're all in some shape or form trying to pursue self-mastery, understanding self and really unlocking potential inside us. And of course, it takes all of us to kind of share what we know to lift the collective kind of wisdom and capability in the country. So very excited that I'm part of this movement of trying to, help people achieve their personal effectiveness.
I think it sounds absolutely brilliant. So we'll move on to talking generally, but just as we talk about the book, when you talk about self-mastery, what are we saying there, Alistair? I mean, can you put that into an easy definition for us? Maybe not. We need to read the book.
Yeah,
But it seems self-mastery is such an important thing to be doing in the world
yeah.
today.
Well, actually, self-mastery is self-management. It's managing self. You can put any virtue and then attach to it the word self. So self-love, you can't give love unless you love yourself. You cannot be patient with others unless you're patient with yourself. You can't, um, self-regulate unless you work on yourself and understand yourself. And I think it also speaks to self-awareness or self-understanding and self-care, which is really important, and self-esteem. I speak in the book about self-esteem is a birthright that helps you build healthy relationships. But the ego is your enemy because the ego leads to offense. It leads to selfishness and narcissism. So I think for me, when I think about self-mastery, I say you can only change yourself. So hold up a mirror, look at yourself and say, what are the adjustments I need to make? How do I get close to my life purpose? How do I spend all my time on things that I love and my strengths and passion points, as opposed to fussing about weaknesses,
Mm,
because your strengths give you energy and your passion gives you direction in life. It really gives you selection criteria for the choices you need to make. So I think when I speak to people, I realize that part of the challenge is kind of getting to understand self and
mm.
getting to manage self. And I hope the book in some way, shed some light on this very difficult but very fulfilling life journey.
Yeah, so in many ways, it sounds like you're asking people to be accountable as well. You're asking people to take responsibility for themselves because, it worries me that in this day and age, we are very quick to blame
Yeah.
society or circumstances, even culture or background. All of these things obviously play a very important role in the way the human being develops. But sometimes one can blame those things for the fact that we're not experiencing the success that we'd like to experience.
Absolutely. And I think what is clear and very obvious is that challenges and hurdles and headwinds are given. We must wake up every morning accepting that something will go wrong in the day. But the choice that we do have is how we show up, how we react, how we respond to the world, how we respond to other people. There'll be triggers. We get triggered every day. Self mastery is about understanding what are my triggers, what gets me into a negative space, what shifts me from thinking of the world as a place of abundance to a place of scarcity where I need to be selfish and I need to compete and whereas what we should be thinking about is there's enough for all of us, and how do we make sure that when we pursue growth, it's inclusive growth, we don't leave anybody behind. And I think what's really important is that we need to acknowledge that all the problems we face in the world are human made problems. They're caused by human beings, and therefore it takes human beings to solve the problems we have in society. And that won't happen until all of us remember our own agency to take control and be the change we wish to see. So I just think that all of us just need to remember that we've got the potential to unlock greatness inside us if we just do the work that is required for us to always show up in a positive way, because we should all be net positive contributors to society.
It sounds wonderful. I'm very keen to read that, Alistair. I must say, it sounds like a very interesting book. And I really think what you're saying is very true indeed, and is what we desperately need in an era where, in fact, even leadership has kind of let us down in so many ways. But again, we can blame the leadership as opposed to saying, what do I need to do to make my life, as you say, a life of abundance, as opposed to a life of scarcity?
Absolutely. And also, how do we hold leadership accountable in a way that builds them up as opposed to destroy them? Because
Mm,
in giving feedback to leadership, we can be quite harsh, and we can
mm,
break people to a point where they're defensive as opposed to being open to feedback. And I think how we impact each other, how we show up for each other, how we support each other really matters, whether you're in a position of leadership or not. And I often think that we don't realize that the privilege of leadership comes with the honor of serving, right?
wow.
If we remember that it's not about us, it's about serving a higher purpose, it's about serving those that have entrusted us with leadership, it's about understanding that our role as leaders is to help manage the energies of ourselves and the energies of other people. So we talk about physical energy in the book, spiritual energy, emotional energy. How do we help people deal with difficulties? Psychological energy, intellectual energy, and very importantly, spiritual energy, which speaks to mission and life purpose and so on. Because people march to their own drumbeat. You want to pursue, you want to live a life where you pursue your own purpose. And when it comes to choosing jobs and organizations and even partners, we look for a sense of synchronicity and alignment between value systems as well as missions and purpose.
Wow. I love that. I'm writing things down very quickly here because I love what you're saying. Leadership is a favorite subject of mine. And because if you look all over the world, not just in South Africa, if you look all over the world, we seem to have a crisis of leadership. And I think what you're saying about, the privilege of leadership, I love this, is the honor of serving other people.
Yeah,
I think that that's a brilliant way to look at it. Okay, we're
yeah,
going to
no,
move
no, I
quickly.
believe that.
Sorry, carry
Yeah.
on.
Now, I was just saying, I honestly believe that.
Yeah. Well, I think that if we look recently at the rugby victory, we look at people like Sia Kolisi and these people who've changed the spirit of the country through a rugby match, and really, that is leadership. What's the word I want? Like shared leadership. There's a team
Yeah.
where Sia Kolisi is not an arrogant leader. He's got his whole team together. They excuse me, they're doing it for a wider purpose, which is the
Mhm.
purpose of elevating our country. I think that says a lot.
Absolutely. In fact, I've got a Siakolisi story. His father-in-law, Dr. Clive Smith, was my headmaster in high school.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's our connection. But
Oh,
yeah, you're absolutely
fantastic.
right. Leadership is about pursuing a higher goal, a higher purpose, mission that recognizes that it's not about us, but it's about other people.
Mm.
And we're all interconnected. I mean, I love Ernest Hemingway's novel from the 40s. Ask not for whom the bell tolls; it tolls for thee. So we can't separate ourselves
Mm.
from other people. If a person dies, we also feel the pain. A little bit of us dies. We're all interconnected. So we have to live a life of service. and understanding that that which we have is simply placed with us with a responsibility to use it to help other people. So I wrote this book, Servings of Self-Mastery, with the sole purpose of really scaling the mentorship and the coaching conversations I've had. I think a lot of people tend to fixate on the idea of I need to make contact with Chris for Chris to mentor me. Well, you can learn about Chris's life from a distance. You can research people. We're lucky today we have LinkedIn, we have social media. You can literally piece together a whole research thesis on someone that you admire and extract principles from their ways and their lives without pinging them or phoning them and saying, please, can you mentor me? Because a lot of people get spooked by requests to go into this relationship of a dialogue. So there are a lot of people that I admire and I learn from them, and I kind of use that research to help me test my own thinking. And one day when I do meet those people, I share with them how they've impacted me as opposed to asking for them to invest time in me. And I find that that actually works.
I think that's a brilliant angle on mentorship. You can have a really top mentor who you would normally not be able to afford or even have contact with, because you can just read about them, learn about them, pick up who they are through whatever information exists, even on YouTube or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
There's so much available to us today where we can, in fact, have mentoring, like indirect mentoring in a way. I find that fascinating. While we talk about mentoring, this is an important aspect to you, Alistair. I mean, in terms of people finding their way professionally, finding their way academically, mentorship plays an important role.
It does. It does. I mean, so my day job is to run Google in South Africa, but I also have one foot in academia. So for the last 15 years or so, I've been guest lecturing at various universities and business schools, and I'm a professor of practice at University of Johannesburg as well as Northwest University. And I teach, I supervise students, I publish academic papers, and I present at academic conferences and so on. And part of that is about giving back. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about bridging the gap between industry and academia. And all those programs that I'm involved in, have at the heart of the mentorship and coaching. Because you do need a sounding board. You do need somebody who will help you, ask questions that will lead you, down the right path. Because, Jesus taught us that we need to turn people into, fishermen and fisherwomen. So my thing is, let's learn to give people fishing rods as opposed to dishing out fish. It's easy and expedient to give out fish, but long-term sustainability behoves us to really focus on giving out fishing rods, and we do that through teaching people to ask the right questions, because questions reveal and answers conceal.
I love that. That's a very nice definition. So, in terms of the Blue Frontier Path Academy, who, of course, I'm representing in this interview, this is an organization that exists to be able to provide that kind of mentorship. That's in a more formal relationship. We've been talking about, well, both direct and indirect mentorship. I mean, sometimes you will just go to a person and say, will you be my mentor? Can you find the time to help me do what I need to do? That's not that easy, of course, and people are busy. So in many ways, an organization like Blue Frontier Path is providing this service. It's a service you pay for, but it comes alongside you to help you finish your thesis or put your presentations together. It's an objective eye in a way. And I guess that's the more formal side of mentorship. That's what it's trying to do in your academic pursuits. I imagine that's what you're trying to do, is to help people, what's the word, stay on track or get in the right channel
Absolutely.
or be doing the right things to achieve their
Yeah,
goals.
absolutely. It's actually a journey of self-mastery. It's about helping people with self-management. It's about helping people get into the right frame of mind to study. Embarking on further studies when you're working, when you're raising a family, is not easy. The juggle is
Yeah.
very difficult. We've just come out of a difficult COVID period where, for the first time, we were all dealing with life and death on a daily basis and worried about our own survival and our own mortality. But there were people who were studying. I was coaching some MBA students through that difficult time, and some of them lost loved ones. So helping people recalibrate their thinking, helping them put on different lenses through which they look at the world,
Mm,
helping people reframe their challenges, and also a simple thing like time management that we take for granted. Just carving out time, having a routine, having some rituals, but also negotiating time and space with those close to you that listen, I'm embarking on a journey. It's going to be difficult. I spent just under 3 years doing a PhD study, and I've got a young family. I spent 12 months writing this book, but that required discipline because over and above my day job, I would take time out in the evenings, do some research, some reflection, and write. But having a mentor or having a coach guiding you, leading you on the right path in that direction, really makes all the difference. And we should always remember that there's always a need for coaching and counseling. And counseling, I think, should be left to experts because that's getting someone out of a very negative kind of mental and emotional space. But coaching really is about giving people wings to fly. So
mm,
the services provided by Blue Frontier Path Academy is invaluable. Everybody needs to have a partner to help them. And in the book, I speak about have a wingmate in life, have a Sherpa, have somebody help you climb mountains. They know the path, they've been there before, they know what it's like to summit. They know that it gets easier with time, and they keep your hope up, and they encourage you, and they push you, and they help you manage the chorus of voices in your mind, because at any given time there's multiple voices. There's a critic, there's a pessimist, there's a judge, and then there's a voice that gets drowned out, and that's the optimist, that which keeps you going and keeps you focused on the prize. And what I'm trying to do with the book is elevate the voice of the optimist in the head, and really help people recognize which voice is dominant right now, and how do I change the music playing in my head. How do I launder my emotions. At first it can be a longish exercise where you go through, but it becomes easier. You learn to get to a point where you can actually just move away from a trigger, get back on track, and be your best self.
mm, mm. Wow, I love that. Sure, I could go on listening to you for a long time. Sounds very good. I love the idea of a wingmate. You think of the famous commercial, Red Bull gives you wings. Well, we could say, well, all sorts of things give you wings. A mentor gives you wings. Getting your attitude and your self mastery right will give you wings. The Blue Frontier Path Academy is trying to give people wings. The idea of wingmate is really great because we all need to fly to a place where we can realize our dreams.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's all we've got time for, Professor Mokoena. Alistair, it's really great to speak to you. I wish you the best of luck with your book. I hope it continues along this trajectory of being a bestseller, because that looks like it's what it's going to be. And thank you very much for giving your time to us in just discussing this very critically important subject of mentorship. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a lovely, lovely, chat, and I really, want to commend you for all the work that you do to give people wings. All the best.